There's a lot of different elements that goes into ensuring you have a good image. Now this workshop we're going to talk about editing your photos, but before we even get into that, I want to talk about what makes up a photograph and how to get the best images possible. Each photograph, each digital image is made up of a pixel, and a pixel is a contraction of the term picture element. And all digital images are made up of these. They're just small squares like a tile mosaic on your kitchen or bathroom wall. Even though a digital photograph looks smooth and continuous like a regular photograph does, when you zoom in, you'll see it's actually composed of millions of tiny squares, as seen in this image. The pixels, or resolution, some people will call it resolution, it corresponds to how large your photo can become without it becoming unacceptably blurry or grainy. The rule of thumb here is that the greater number of pixels in an image, the denser the picture information, and therefore the higher resolution. So if you know it's going to be a photograph that you want to print off or possibly enlarge, you want to get the highest resolution possible. My rule of thumb is to always go with the highest resolution, because you can always lower your pixels, but it's much more difficult to enlarge your pixels and get it clearer. Higher resolution provides the most detail within your image, so I always go with the highest pixels possible. Another thing to talk about is scanner resolution. Now, scanners only come into play if you have a printed photograph and you want to make it digital and you want to edit it. If that's the case, you want to make sure that you get a scanner that has a resolution that's much higher. Again, if it's going to be an image that you want to print out, you want to make sure that you're scanning your images in at a resolution of about 2400 by 4800 ppi. The printer resolution is something else to consider, because a lot of people will get a photograph that's very high resolution. They go to print it out and it's still grainy. Well, what sometimes tends to happen is they're printing it on a printer that has a very low printer resolution. So your printer resolution measures your printer's ability to lay down an effective amount of color or black ink to accurately and smoothly reproduce your digital image. The resolution in printers is measured in dots of ink per inch, and so that's why it's DPI. That stands for dots per inch. Your typical laser desktop printer has a resolution of 600 ppi, while inkjets have a resolution of 2400 or higher. That's why most times inkjets are used for photographic printing, because the high resolution easily allows for continuous tone images with accurate reproduction, as opposed to that of a laser printer. Now, the last thing to consider is what zoom your camera is using. Most cameras have both optical zoom and a digital zoom. Optical zoom works just like a zoom lens on a film camera. The lens changes focal length and magnification as it is zoomed. Image quality stays high throughout the zoom range. Digital zoom simply crops the image to a smaller size and then enlarges the cropped portion to fill the frame again. So digital zoom results in a significant loss of quality, as is clear from the examples here on the screen. It's pretty much a last resort, and if you don't have it in your camera, you can do a similar job using almost any image editing program. So if you're ever in the market looking for a new camera, I always recommend ignoring the digital zoom capabilities of the camera, looking for a camera that has a really good optical zoom capability.